This next comic says he's so funny, it's not funny. Put your hands together for Jay August, everybody.
All right, thank you, everybody. Keep it going for Chip Ambrose. You're just kidding. Fuck his feelings. I'm going to use the mic stand. Or I'm not. How you doing, folks? I am Jay August. And that is what we call a case of nominative determinism. Nominative determinism, as everybody knows, is when you are named after what you are. So my surname is August simply because I'm really sweaty and uncomfortable. And people tend to be sick of me about halfway through. But I'm up here today for attention. Specifically, I need your attention because I have none of my own. I, in fact, have negative attention. I have a deficit of attention. They tell me it's some sort of disorder. And I was an 80s kid, so like you didn't just automatically get your ADD meds. You had to be clinically diagnosed. And I was clinically diagnosed as the uncut heroin of ADD. In fact, this has got to be the longest I've stayed on topic since... You know, in Santa Fe, New Mexico, they have an indoor soccer team called the Santa Fe Aardvarks. And they play in Aardvark Stadium. And they wanted an Aardvark statue in front of Aardvark Stadium, so they hired an artist who subsequently hired an Aardvark model named Fritz von Aardvark. Now, Fritz was German and not used to working in the American Southwest. He was totally unaccustomed to the altitude, the temperature, the humidity, everything. He was really miserable, but really professional. And he's out there just every day, like kind of posing for this statue. This is what an Aardvark looks like when it plays soccer. Posing every day, but just dripping sweat and absolutely miserable, but very professional. And a local reporter came up to him and said, so how do you like the job here? And he went, oh, it is aardvark. Yeah, obviously I've got some problems with focus and distractibility. So I don't want my problems to ever interfere with anyone's good time. So what I did is I had my wife, who has just like crippling OCD, and loves me despite the fact that I am asymmetrical, take my comedy and just condense it, reduce it down to the essence, to the Tide Pods of comedy that are so short that even I can get through them without getting lost. So let's get started, because, you know, much like Jeffrey Epstein, my dreams aren't going to kill themselves. My grandfather was a Swedish fisherman, and it is still my favorite candy. I really do have ADD, which stands for Attention Deficit Disorder, and then I also have CRS, which stands for Can't Remember Shit. And then, on top of everything else, I have ARD, which stands for Acronyms Are Hard. I got an anger management problem. I just, you know, kind of, I don't know, I'm untethered. I got really pissed the other day and I kind of made a line in the sand, which was a horrible way to do cocaine. Actually what happened was I was getting really aggressive at work and I had to kind of protect my job. So what I did was I did a little mental autocorrect. I changed a word in my head from a bad word to the word bless. So like if I went, you know, hey, bless you, pal, but you hadn't sneezed. And it's going well. Everyone thinks I'm a lot happier. I do have to run a prayer group on Thursday evenings, though. I was stopping by the store the other day, and I called my wife and asked, hey, can I pick you up anything while I'm here? And she said, I don't care, as long as it's cold and alcoholic. Man, was she not happy when I showed up with her mother. Actually, my wife is here this evening, and she, in fact, may be funnier than me. She recently called me with a tale of personal victory. The other day, she was driving her father around. He doesn't drive anymore, but so she was driving her father around, and it was the first time in her entire life. He didn't mess with the radio, he didn't mess with the air conditioning, he didn't mess with the seat controls, he didn't even complain about her driving. She says that he has really, really mellowed out ever since the cremation. But I'm happy to be standing here. I'm actually happy to be standing anywhere. I am recovering from a fairly significant injury. I tore my Achilles tendon, which is a very common injury among athletes, and I tore it playing just a pickup game of walking across the street. But the surgery went great. The surgeon was great, but man, when you get surgery, they ask you a bunch of questions, like, do you have COVID? Have you ever had COVID? Do you have any allergies? Did your grandmother have any allergies? Do you like the new color of our lobby? It's just a lot of useless questions. But one of the questions that isn't useless is the pain question. They always ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is your pain? I mean, like, pain's subjective, right? Like, what exactly, like, what is, so I said, like, well, what's a 10? And they said, imagine the worst pain you could possibly imagine. And I'm like, well, I can imagine a lot. I can imagine a woman with a broken leg giving birth on a pile of thumbtacks that are covered in lemon juice and salt while being forced to watch Wonder Woman 1984. What I can't imagine is what the hell that feels like. They said, okay, well, what's the worst pain you've ever experienced? Again, subjective. What if I've had a charmed life? Like, the worst thing that's ever happened to me up to this point has been I stubbed my toe on a well-upholstered sofa. And this was my 10, because while it wasn't fun, it kind of wasn't that bad. But the pain question's important because what comes with surgery? Drugs. I wanted the drugs. Okay, even though I didn't need them, I wanted them because it's one of the perks of surgery. You actually get perks with surgery. So the question is not, on a scale of 1 to 10, how bad is your pain? The question is, what number can I give you that will give me the most pain medication while throwing up the fewest red flags? Because if I say 10 for everything, they're just going to think I'm drug seeking. And for the record, I couldn't walk for 3 months. If I blew out my Achilles tendon to get drugs, I'm a moron. But realistically, the question still remains, what was going to throw up the fewest red flags? Now, my anesthesiologist said 7. And I said, shit, I should probably not be asking you. And he said, shit, I probably shouldn't be telling you. But 7. Speaking of non sequiturs, I am a dog person. I have 2 dogs at home, and I love them dearly. I'm definitely a dog person. However, I also love showing my asshole to strangers, so that also makes me a cat person. What do you call a narcissist standing in front of a mirror? Anything you want, they're not listening. And if you didn't get that joke, I'll just make the next one a little bit more about you. Technically, that's about my father. My father is a massive narcissist. I mean, he's a normal-sized person, but a massive narcissist. And I called him the other day and just not wanting to be rude, I said, hey, Dad, are you in the middle of anything? And he said, no, I am in the center of all things. But it doesn't help that he has a PhD in English. And he thinks that he's always correct. So right now we're kind of fighting over whether or not to pronounce the letter T in often. Either it's often or often, often or often. We can't agree, and he has a PhD, so he thinks he's right. And I just think he's being a massive cunt. But because of his English background, I grew up around a lot of words, a lot of big words. And I came to love them. Words like pedantic, curmudgeon, churlish, or obsequious. In the home that I was raised, these were fairly ubiquitous. But no one's being obtuse, because I'm being abstruse. Then I failed to deduce that it's really no use, because my prolixity won't ever make me prolific, or even prophetic. It just makes me pathetic. I might even be iconic. With speech more laconic, at least if I were black, I could be using ebonics. But I end up sounding like a straight ass using too much bombast. Like I'm trying to impress a teacher of the honors class, and if you're cross and annoyed at the language employed, I don't blame you, but there's no sense of schadenfreude, because I wish I were terse and succinct, because it always is worse than I think. Because I babble and blather like I've had too much to drink, and then this whole thing takes on a ludibrious air. Which, honestly, that word I just shoehorned in there. But my loquacity is just adding opacity, the meaning gets lost, and you blame that straight on me, because I know I'm spastic and pleonastic, and now I'm snapping, so that's the hat trick. But I'm a sesquipedalian, and I know it, and I'm hitting rhymes like an old beat poet, with a lexicon past the Rubicon, using words that are mostly gone. And if you think this is just self-felicitating, I might think you are just player-hating. And if you find any of this of dubious veracity, come on up to the stage and take a pass at me. But you won't, I know, because you're all a bit too wary that I might have the bigger dick. Shanary. I've been Jay August, and bless you all.
Let him hear it one more time, guys. Jay August.